but he's extremely smart.
Oh, yeah. Well, then you learn, like, when you pay attention to stand-up comedians, most of them are very intelligent.
Yes.
They could easily be doctors, lawyers, that kind of stuff, but they see through the bullshit and they know they can be funny.
Yeah. Welcome back to Slice of Ringgold. I'm your host, Jessica Garrett with Mighty Oaks Realty, and today I've got Lee Harper with Red Clay Waste Solutions here with me. Lee, tell us a little bit about you.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Again, my name is Lee Harper. I grew up in this area. I lived somewhere between like the Tunnel Hill, Cohutta, Varnell area growing up most of my life. Graduated from Northwest High School 2001. Then moved away for college. Went to the University of West Georgia. I got my bachelor's degree. I thought I wanted to go to law school. That didn't work out. So then I went back to West Georgia, got my master's degree in education and counseling, thinking that I wanted to go into higher education, like work at different universities, doing like student government advising, Greek life advising, that kind of stuff. When it came to time to find a job, I couldn't really find one in the university that didn't require us to move. At the time, we were living in Conyers, Georgia.
Okay.
And I tried to find something around there, couldn't find it. But then I found a job with the Boy Scouts of America in Atlanta. So I worked for them for about 4 years in the Atlanta area, recruiting new members, fundraising, starting new troops and packs and things like that. I did that for about 4 years. It's a nonprofit, you're fundraising to make your paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't my passion, I guess you could say, even though I grew up in Scouts. I got my Eagle Scout rank from a troop in Varnell. So I love what Scouting is about, but working for them was a challenge. So then I found a job with Aldi Foods.
Mm-hmm.
I started as a district manager with them in Atlanta, overseeing a number of stores. And then that's where the real adventure starts, right? So I was in Atlanta for about 13, 14 months, and then they moved me to Asheville, North Carolina, to take over a territory there. We were in Asheville somewhere between 3.5 years. Loved Asheville. If you've never been, it's definitely worth visiting. The Biltmore House, everything up there. If you like hiking and camping, it's the place to be. Went from there to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Aldi asked me to go up there to lead a project. I was a project manager, essentially. Aldi had purchased a smaller grocery store chain called Bottom Dollar. And they were mainly in Pennsylvania, between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. And so they sent a group of people to Pittsburgh, a group of people to Philadelphia to focus on transforming those Bottom Dollar stores into Aldi. Mm-hmm. So I was the project lead for other district managers. We were the kind of the grunt workers, right? So once the construction guys kind of did their stuff, my team went in, we set the shelving, set the signage, set the groceries on the shelf, literally got everything ready to go to hand the keys to the store manager that would take over. So I did that for a year. That's when I got promoted to director of warehouse operations position in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, wow.
Or Denton, Texas, to be specific. Moved to Denton thinking that's where we're going to be long term. Because typically back then, when you got promoted to a director position at a facility, like you were there, that was kind of your home. And so we went into it with that. Bought what I still consider my dream home. I think about the house all the time. But we were only there for 18 months.
Wow.
And then Aldi asked me to move again to Richmond, Virginia to open up a brand new distribution center, which was huge. I was excited for the opportunity to be able to open up a brand new facility. And they essentially handed me the keys to a $80 million facility and say, all right, set it up. So I get an empty box. I got to set the layout, order all the product, or we work with the people that are ordering all the product, set up all the safety regulations, FDA, EPA, Department of Homeland Security, you name it. I had to ensure like we were in compliance to get the facility up and running. We were there for about 3.5 years. So I got there, what was that? February of 18. The facility opened October of 18, and then I ran it as the director of warehouse operations and services for 3 years or so. Then they asked me to move to Mobile, Alabama to do the same thing again. So we packed up, moved to Mobile, and we did the exact same thing. New facility, set it up, so on. They're about 2 years, and that's where the journey with Aldi ended. I started looking for another opportunity to help us keep us in Alabama, or just something stable, right?
To have some roots and settle down.
Exactly.
So I'm going to back up a little bit before we go forward. Love Scouts. My oldest daughter, she's in an all-girl Boy Scout group,
or Scouts USA, or BSA, whatever it is.
Yeah, and so it's just been incredible. There's a very active community here.
Absolutely,
it's incredible. I was in Girl Scouts, and I remember kind of almost being jealous of the Boy Scouts because you have the Eagle Scout, and they were just a lot more active.
Absolutely,
and everything. So that's really neat that's in your background.
Yeah.
But I mean, you are fundraising, you're volunteering, it's for a good cause. Definitely,
sure, absolutely.
And then I've got a question. I think I know what it stands for because I love trivia and am kind of.
I hope I know the answer.
You probably do. ALDI. I had read somewhere that it is like an acronym, or it stands for like all discount or something.
So like that. It's actually Albrecht discount.
Okay.
So the Albrecht family started Aldi back in the early 1900s in Germany.
Okay.
For some reason, 1918 sticks in my head.
Okay.
Was when I think it was first started, and it was I think it was called Albrecht Discounters or Albrecht Discounters. So, and it was two brothers, and so I could be wrong. Someone may chastise me for this, but I think like the dad started it, then it went to the two brothers, Theo and can't think of that guy's name. Doesn't matter. Two brothers that had it. And then they had a disagreement over cigarettes, like whether they should sell them in their stores or not.
Interesting.
And so that's when they split. So they shortened Albrecht discount to Aldi, ALDI. That's where you get that from. And then they essentially split the planet in half. Like, all right, Aldi North as a corporation will take these countries. Aldi South will take these countries. So now fast forward in the United States, you have Aldi, the grocery store that you know. I can't remember. I always get this messed up. I can't remember if it's either we'll say Aldi South. I think it's part of Aldi South. It could be North, whatever. Then you have Trader Joe's.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other brother.
And neither sell cigarettes.
Well, at least not here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one brother's company came over as Aldi. The other brother's company came to US as Trader Joe's.
Interesting.
So, but they don't do anything with each other.
Right.
They're completely separate.
That is really neat. Well, we're here to talk about your business, Red Clay Waste Solutions. So when I saw your company name, I thought about Red Clay. There's a state park not far down the road. How did you come up with your company name, and how did you get in? This is multi questions, but
you're good.
I want to know how you came up with your name and how you went from, Aldi warehouse management and Alabama to here now.
Yeah. So absolutely. So whenever I was trying to find a job back in Alabama, I found a job here. Like I wasn't looking for a job back in Dalton. It just happened to be where the job was with CJ Logistics. It's a 3PL company. They do a lot of different things for other people in terms of warehousing and distribution, things like that. And I actually got a job in the Q-Cells facility in Dalton, the solar panel manufacturing. And I was the general manager for the operation in there that had everything to do with their inbound receiving and their outbound shipping and some production support, thinking that was going to be a long-term career. Then we found out Q-Cells was canceling our contract. And if I wanted to stay in Dalton, I either had to move. CJ was willing to move me to, it was between Kansas City or Winston-Salem, North Carolina, for some different opportunities. And I just didn't want to move anymore. So that's when I started looking to open up my own business. I started researching different franchises, things like that. I wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go. And I came across a dumpster franchise that I fell in love with. I did a few interviews with them. And then after learning more about it, I realized I could do it on my own. So I decided just to start my own company. So Red Clay. So I grew up, like I said, in Tunnel Hill, Varnell. My grandmother lived in Cohutta, right on Red Clay Road. So if you know downtown Cohutta, you got the fire department, and then if you're on Red Clay Road and you're headed towards the park or north to Tennessee, you got the fire department and then like two houses. It was my grandma's right there. So, and then we did all of our family reunions at Red Clay State Park. So I grew up in it was just a part of my heritage, my family. A lot of time at Red Clay State Park, a lot of time on Red Clay Road, and the area just means a lot to me. When I was trying to come up with names for the business, I feel like it took me forever to figure out what I wanted to call it, because I wanted it to mean something to me.
Absolutely.
That I can have, pride in, that kind of thing. And I went through a lot of different ones. And when I landed on Red Clay, it just felt right. It just, it just made sense.
And I'm the same, because I feel like, so my company's Mighty Oaks Realty, and I just wanted it to have a strong, meaningful, almost like a legacy type name, that if I wanted to pass this business on to my children, it'd be something to be proud of.
Yeah, I thought about the same. And then the logo, I thought about different things, but I ended up, so this is the Cherokee Rose, which is the Georgia State flower.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I came up with, how I came up with the logo. And then it was funny, I used an AI image generator initially, and went through a bunch of different variations, and it came up with one similar to this that I fell in love with. Then I took that to a graphic designer that I found through Fiverr. Yeah. And then I went back and forth with them, and we finally landed on this.
I love it. When I think of dumpster rentals, I think about people that are, clearing out a home for an estate. Yep. I think about people that are using that for construction. Sure. I'm sure I'm missing some other opportunities to use your services. So what kind of clients are you attracting to your business? Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. So from residential customers to commercial customers. I have 4 different size dumpsters. I have a 10-yard, 15, 20, and 25-yard sizes. So from small jobs to bigger jobs. But yeah, I'm really working with anybody in the community that needs a dumpster. I've had several customers already that it's just been house clean outs or barn clean outs and that kind of thing. And I've also worked with some contractors, kitchen, bath remodels. I just worked with a roofer. Used me for his roofing job that he had to do. So it's really just, anyone that could use a dumpster. I want to, network with those individuals and put our services out there. So we're all on the Tennessee-Georgia line. So I'm assuming you will take care of customers in Tennessee and Georgia both. Yes. Yeah. When I registered my my DOT information for my truck, I registered as interstate, so I could cross state lines. And so I do. I've already serviced customers in Cleveland, Chattanooga, that kind of thing. So how far a radius do you think that you would go? Right now I'm going about 35, 40 mile radius from Dalton. Okay. It's kind of where I've been going to. And that gets me, all the way down to Calhoun, out Chatsworth, up to Cleveland, Ottawa, out west to like Lafayette or Lafayette. I'm not sure which way you're supposed to say it. I've heard people say it both ways, so I don't know. You just say it both ways to be safe. So yeah, that's kind of, so I cover a really large area that I can help people. To start this business, what kind of credentials did you have to get? And are you have to be aware of anything like restrictions and where you place your dumpsters and how long they can stay? Kind of educate me on all that. Yeah, I mean, the biggest regulations that you have to kind of follow are the DOT regulations. In terms of like a driver's license, right? Truck drivers have CDLs, and there's to get a CDL, or the requirement for a CDL is if your vehicle weighs 26,000 pounds, everything together. So truck, dumpster, trash, 26,000 pounds or more, you have to have a CDL license to legally drive it. If you stay below 26,000 pounds, you don't need it. You can just have a regular driver's license. So you got to make, knowing those regulations and that you stay below that is important. So right now, I'm rated right at 26,000 pounds. So I don't need a CDL. But if I go to 26,001 pounds, I have to get a CDL. So that's kind of the biggest thing for that. At some point, I plan on getting my CDL license so I can drive bigger vehicles. And there's 2 types of CDL. You got a CDL A and a CDL B. I think I'm right in saying the CDL A is what your traditional truck drivers need, your 18-wheelers. Then they have the CDL B, and that's what like bus drivers have. And that's what I would get, a CDL B license that would allow me to drive a bigger truck to carry more weight, that kind of thing. In terms of placing dumpsters, that's kind of a case-by-case basis. Most property owners, they can put it wherever they want. There may be an instance where it's in a neighborhood that has
some HOA regulations. There may be some stuff with that, but that'd be on a case by case. But for the most part, I can put a dumpster wherever the customer wants me to.
And that's probably be a good conversation to have with your client, is saying, hey, do you live in a neighborhood? Have you checked your HOA regulations for this? Have you ever, I'm just curious, had any, I guess my question is, what can you put in the dumpster? And is there anything that you can't put in the dumpster, like hazardous waste, stuff like that?
Oh, absolutely. So there are some things that are restricted, right? So hazardous waste, liquids, are not allowed. Anything flammable, from flammable liquids, propane tanks, like the little small propane tanks, things like that. And then a big one is like tires and mattresses and box springs. Those are technically not allowed, but I can take them for an additional fee. And that's just based on the landfill. Most landfills charge so much per ton for regular everyday trash, construction debris, things like that. But then for tires and mattresses, they have a separate fee on top of the weight. So I will tell customers that I'll take them. They just have to let me know ahead of time, and they just know that there's going to be a fee on top of, the rental fee.
And if you're taking a mattress or tires in the dumpster, is it best if they have that separated out instead of just jumbled in there with the rest?
I ask them to put it on top, like the last thing to go on top. That way it's easy for me to separate once I get to the landfill.
If I had a client that's cleaning out a house and getting it ready to list, and I say, hey, call up Lee, have them, drop a dumpster, you're going to need it. Walk me through what kind of conversation you're going to have, start to finish with my client, of saying, we'll come out there. This is what to expect. This is,
Sure. Yeah. So if a customer calls me up and they just say they need a dumpster, I'll ask them, what kind of project they have. Is it a clean out? Is it a remodel? Whatever. And then kind of based on the size of that project, I can make a recommendation on what dumpster would, best suit them. And then we'll kind of, go back and forth on that, figuring out, which size, is best for their job. And then, we'll run through, okay, here's what's allowed, here's what's not allowed, that kind of thing. Then they just let me know where they want me to place it once I get there. And then I can drop it.
Do you ever have anybody, I get this question asked a lot, and I don't find this service very often around here, but like recycling. Do you ever get clients that say, hey, got a bunch of trash, but I've got some recyclables to, like, how do you handle or navigate that?
Not yet. I haven't. I want to get into recycling services at some point, but I don't know what direction to go with. There's another great guy that you should talk to. His name's Morgan. He's actually started a new glass recycling company up in the Chattanooga area. It's called Overlook Recycling. It's a fantastic operation. They're kind of breaking new ground in a lot of ways. They've partnered with a lot of restaurants in Dalton and up here in Chattanooga, where like all the glasses from their alcohol or whatever it is, before all that stuff would just go straight into the trash because there wasn't any glass recycling in the area. But now he has that, and so I'm working on potentially partnering with him for when he has larger glass quantities that he can use one of my dumpsters to get the glass, instead of right now he has like your typical residential trash cans that he'll come by and pick those up and dump it. But take for instance like Q cells, they use massive sheets of glass that are huge. I remember when I worked there, we'd get one pallet of this glass, and one pallet weighed 4,000 pounds. And he's trying to partner with them, but his little containers, wouldn't necessarily work for that. But maybe I could partner with my dumpsters. They could put glass in, for that kind of thing.
There's a huge need for recycling here. I have a lot of relocation clients, and they're always shocked that, we got garbage services,
right?
But recycling service, you kind of have to go and do that on your own.
Right.
We have the opportunity, but it's a lot more legwork.
Yeah, I know. We live in the city limits of Dalton, and they do recycling, but not glass. So we have to separate the glass out separately. And before it was going in the trash can, but now we give it to, Morgan and his company, and then they're able to use it. And what's cool is they take the glass, they grind it down, and they use it to make tiles. It's like floor tiles and things like that. And I've seen some of the prototypes. It's gorgeous work. So I'm excited to see what he does. And if I can, partner with him, that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. So why would someone choose your business over any other dumpster company in the area?
If I'm honest, I promise you I'm going to give you good customer service. The most important thing to me is relationships and connecting with people. And I truly want to be, a community partner, someone that people can call and depend on. They know I'm going to shoot them straight. I'm going to keep my word and my promise and just offer the best quality service I possibly can. I'm a huge fan of Chick-fil-A, like my pleasure, and I genuinely believe that. I've moved a lot. I've seen a lot. I've gone through a lot of things personally, and at the end of the day, I realize, it's all about helping one another, being a part of the community and connecting. And I just want to bring that into my business. I'm not just a dumpster company, it's more than that. I really want to, be a partner. If it's a construction guy, I want to help him grow his business, by ensuring, if he's got a job that requires, dumpsters need to be flipped quickly to ensure he can keep up with the timeline for his construction job. Like, I want to help him be successful so he can be successful in growing his business. So
yeah. Kind of just that group effort, teamwork.
It's all about synergy. It really is. We can all help each other.
That's the word I was going to use, but I was like, I'll hold back, but you pulled it out anyway. And I'm just curious because I don't know. So when you pick up the dumpster, where does all that go?
Great question. So it'll go to the landfill of the county that I pick it up from. So each county has a landfill. So Woodfield County's landfill is on the south end of town on off Old Dixie Road, and then Bradley County, their landfill is off 75, not too far. But Murray County has a landfill. So I just go to whatever landfill that the trash was generated in and take it there.
Is that a rule that you take it to where it was generated in?
Yeah, it's the landfill's rules.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily like Woodfield County's landfill. Up until a couple of years ago, they would take trash from anywhere, but they were getting so much from out of the county, they had to change the regulations to only Woodfield County generated material. Okay. So, and I think most facilities are like that for the most part, but some don't care. But it usually, what's the most convenient to get to.
And I've got to ask, because we kind of talked about it before we hopped on here, but when I'm thinking about a dumpster, I'm thinking how it can tilt back and you can just like dump everything off. But occasionally, will you have to go up there and try to get in the back and get some stuff out?
That was me earlier today.
But I guess you have all the equipment, brooms, everything, to get in there and get it all out.
I do. Yeah. My truck has a toolbox on the side of it that I have shovels, brooms, a chain if I get stuck, I need to pull myself out, or mud or something like that. But yeah, today I went to. It had been raining, right? And the rain, it causes all kinds of problems. But the trash that had on the bottom had gotten really compacted and soaked, and it was kind of stuck to the bottom of the dumpster. And so I was able to get 90% of everything out, but that one part wouldn't come out. So I had to climb up into the dumpster and get it all out, and then had to go home and change clothes before coming here. Otherwise, I wouldn't have smelt too good. But what's funny is, like, as I'm doing that, I got a smile on my face. I mean, because I worked for, in the corporate world for so long, and just being able to do my own thing, I couldn't be happier.
It's priceless to be able to work for yourself.
It's something I always wanted to do. I have friends that are entrepreneurs, and I always, a little bit of jealousy there, just not like jealousy where I don't want them to succeed, just jealousy of, man, I wish I could do that too. And I just never felt comfortable. Like Aldi, one thing, if you do research on Aldi, one thing you'll find out is they pay very well. They pay above market. And that's because they want to keep their turnover as low as possible at the executive level. And we called it the golden handcuffs, if you will. And I love Aldi as a great organization, but they made it hard to leave, right? Because of that. So that's the reason I never started my own business, before. But, I was kind of put in a situation where I either had to move, find another job, or, start my own business or something like that. And I did initially try to find another job between Dalton and Chattanooga, and I really couldn't find anything that fit my skill sets and, that made sense for me. So that's how ultimately decided to, just take the leap of faith and go with it.
And I love talking to entrepreneurs because a lot of people, they see what we market, like we market, the good stuff.
Right.
But, I've took vacuum cleaners to clients' homes and vacuumed up dog hair.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure, you've been in a landfill. I mean, we do it all.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah, we do it all to serve our clients and grow our business for sure.
Yeah, I have no problem going from scrubbing a toilet or cleaning out a dumpster to a boardroom. I've been there, done it all, and not everything, but I've been in all those different settings. I've been in meetings with the CEO of AT&T, things like that when I was with the Boy Scouts. I don't mind it. I enjoy it.
I've got to ask, with you having a background in Boy Scouts, all the corporate experience and all that, do you have somebody that you look up to as like a mentor or somebody that you admire in the business sector or kind of shaped your mindset business-wise?
No, absolutely. I can give you, it's a family. It's the Frost family. So Mike Frost Trucking is right here in Tunnel Hill.
Yeah.
Their office is right on Georgia 2. I grew up with Mike's son, Heath Frost. He's my best friend. And they own their own business. Mike started, Mike Frost Trucking, 20 something years ago. And then, Heath has his own trucking company called Frost Express. And Mike was essentially like my second father growing up. And, I've always looked up to Mike and Heath. Even though he's younger than me, I've always looked up to him just because I hate saying it this way, but I didn't come from a stable, home. My parents divorced when I was 3. My mom and my brother and I lived in a trailer park on Rauschenberg Road in Varnell. And then my mom remarried. We moved our trailer from the trailer park to a little piece of land off Lake Cathy Road in Tunnel Hill. So I didn't have I guess a lot of positive role models in that regard, but the Frost kind of gave me something to look up to and strive for in that sense. And then I had to give a shout out to my grandpa, call him Papa. My very first job was working with him in the sheetrock business, finishing sheetrock and that kind of thing. And so I learned a lot about hard work and work ethic from my grandfather. Like having that and then seeing, the Frost, grow their business into what it is now. They went from a couple of trucks to 100 and something trucks. So that's been a lot of fun to watch and seeing it happen in real time.
That slow and steady progress of building a business. And then the sheetrock, like you were saying, we're doing some remodeling, and I knew sheetrock guys were valuable, but the detail, the
Right.
hard work. I mean, that was a very good.
My grandpa, he didn't hang the sheetrock. He did all the finishing, back in the puttying and all that stuff. And we'd be in the middle of summer in houses with no air conditioning, no airflow, and we're sanding the sheetrock. That gets dusty. You breathe that in. At the end of the day, you go home, you blow your nose, just white goo, and you're coughing it out of. I have a tremendous amount of respect for those guys.
Absolutely.
We probably should have been wearing face masks back then when we were doing that. But,
you live and learn.
We live and learn. Yeah.
So what is your future goals for Red Clay?
Sure. I do want to expand our offerings. Right now, I just have roll-off dumpsters, but I do want to get into other waste solution type things. I've thought about, porta potties, getting to that, recycling, officially offering junk removal services, things like that. But I do have plans. Once I get the whole roll-off dumpster part figured out and get that stabilized, then I want to definitely move into other services.
How long have you guys been around?
Officially 1 month, a little over a month.
1 month, and you're already doing all this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going all in for sure. I found out the job with CJ was going away last June, July. And then probably around September, I was like, all right, I'm going to start my own business. And so I started I knew there was an end date with CJ, which was going to be early March. So I took from September to early March, just planning everything, researching the industry, building a website, all that stuff to where I got it ready. And as soon as I was able to, turn in my 2-week notice with CJ, I could hit the ground running with, Red Clay Waste Solutions.
I love it. So you're basically a local, but you moved around a lot.
Yep.
What are some of your favorite local community events or things that you do with your family on the weekends?
Yeah.
What do you love about living here?
So I moved away for college, and I've been gone for 20 something years. And, coming back, it's amazing how much growth and positive things have happened in the community between Ringgold and Dalton and the other, areas in Cohutta. I don't even recognize these places anymore because amazing people have gone in and helped transform the community. So, you can start with Cohutta because that's Red Clay, right? What they've done in downtown Red Clay. Love going to the Red Wolf Grill, their live music on Friday nights. That's a lot of fun to go do. Downtown Dalton, there's all kinds of stuff. We're getting ready to get into the concert season at Burr Park. Looking forward to that. Shenandoah's coming up. Shout out to the Sivington Club. Definitely be going to that. And so doing all those kind of things in the community. I just whatever there's available. There's so many different things that are happening in downtown Dalton. Almost every weekend, it feels like, around Burr Park, and that we enjoy doing all those things.
Yes.
And then come up here to Cohutta. What they've done in downtown Cohutta is it's completely different than 20 years ago, drastically. The restaurants, the bars, it's a fun scene to go and take your family and hang out. When I was growing up here, everybody felt like they had to go to Chattanooga to do anything. Now you don't have to really go that far.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Well, how can people get a hold of you if they need waste solutions?
Sure.
How can they find you?
So the best thing would be to go to my website, redclaywastesolutions.com. On there, you can literally find all the information about the company, about all the dumpsters I offer. And I have everything's very upfront. Pricing is right on the website. Just the information about the size of each dumpster, how much each dumpster can hold, that kind of thing. So you really can get everything you need from the website.
Well, I'm going to ask a typical female question here. So if I call you up and say, hey, I have a 3-bedroom house, I'm purging everything, you would be able to advise, hey, Jessica, you would need this size dumpster probably.
Yeah, for the most part, once we kind of talk through, okay, what does that mean? You're throwing away everything, or is it kind of, a little bit of here, a little bit of there from each room, that kind of thing? Well, we could kind of get down to it. And then if you look on my website, each dumpster has the dimensions, but then I also gave a reference to help give people a visual of how much each dumpster will hold.
Okay.
So you can see it. I have it listed by the pickup truckloads.
Okay.
A 10-yard dumpster, I think is equivalent to 4 pickup truck loads.
Okay.
And then I also have it on there in terms of 33-gallon trash bags. If you were to fill up a 33-gallon trash bag, I can't remember off the top of my head, but say the 10-yard dumpster will hold 60 of those trash bags. So when someone's looking and trying to figure out, then kind of visualize in their head, that and kind of think about, okay, I think I need this size dumpster.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, that's a good visual.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to share or anything?
I don't think so. I'm really just excited, for this opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm just really working on trying to connect with the community, get my name out there, share my story, learn about other people's stories.
Yeah.
Just check out our website. There's my phone number and email address is on the website as well. Give me a call. I'll be happy to talk to you and help you, figure out, what I can do to help you.
And that's on the commercial and residential side,
correct.
Both.
Yeah,
okay.
both. Yep.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. I appreciate your time today.
Yes, thank you.